The preseason pick to win the Sun Belt meets one of the conference's final four unbeaten teams tonight to kick off league play. The Thundering Herd take the first step in hopes of winning their second straight Sun Belt title. Meanwhile, the Gamecocks are aiming for their first top 10 win at home in nearly a decade. It's 10th-ranked Marshall and South Carolina squaring off under the Friday night lights on ESPN+. Hello everyone, Kate Crenshaw with you from Stone Stadium in Columbia, where tonight Marshall begins their road to a hopeful repeat. After winning both the Sun Belt regular season and conference tournament titles a year ago, one of the driving forces behind the Thundering Herd's offensive attack is back once again, and that's midfielder Marco Silva. The redshirt sophomore put away 7 scores last season and already has a pair of goals this year, not to mention his 8 shots on goal, ranking 5th in the Sun Belt, entering conference play tonight. But Silva is just one face among many who have contributed to Marshall's 4-1-1 start this season. And Marshall head coach Chase Grossi told us that his team has a ton of depth and that sometimes it can make rotation decisions difficult with nearly 20 players who are active in their matches. And that's shown up in the lineup cards, as Marshall's had a different starting 11 in each of their matches this season. Well, as for tonight, Grossi said everyone will need to be at their best to match up against a rejuvenated South Carolina group. You see, this is a Gamecocks team that has turned the page in year 4 under head coach Tony Annan and put together one of the best offensive starts in the country. South Carolina has the 3rd highest scoring offense nationally, and it's thanks in part to the play of Ethan Ballack. The Virginia Tech transfer came to the Gamecocks in January as a midfielder, but Annan said he and his staff saw Ballack as someone who was born to be a forward, and the position change was paid off, to say the least. In his first year in Columbia, Ballack is 2nd on the team in goals and 2nd in the country in shot accuracy. He'll certainly play a key role tonight as the Gamecocks look to open conference play with a win for the 3rd straight season. The only thing standing in their way, one of the best teams college soccer has to offer. It's number 10 Marshall and South Carolina in a Sun Belt soccer showdown right here on ESPN+.
There are secrets buried beneath this place.
Agatha, what is happening?
Witchcraft.
The bodies are really piling up.
Feels so good.
Yo, those are nice. Hold on one second.
Candace, what's up? I think my daughter's going pro at basketball.
She's 3.
Yeah, she's 3. What's your point?
I'll take those.
Wait, you're at Dick's? Could you pick up an agility ladder for my daughter?
One second.
Candace.
You're done. What are you doing?
Oh, you're at Dick's. Grab me that new Z&D
Hold on.
hoodie.
Candace,
Trent.
can you get me a red tracksuit?
Okay.
What else?
Maybe the arm sleeve.
Ace, you got to see her. Got 2-a-days
Uh-huh.
going right now.
Thank
So
you.
what you think's the
Thank
next
you.
step?
Yeah.
Do you
Hey,
want me to
Patrick,
also
let me
refer
call
to
you
the
back.
contract? She hung up.
Oh my goodness. This dude. I cannot.
Your yard is your sanctuary, where you should feel free.
I know.
Was talking about the dogs. They need their lawn back fast. And you need Scott's turf builder and rapid grass. It's a revolutionary mix of seed and fertilizer that grows grass 2 times faster than just seed alone. Giving you a stronger lawn. Release the hounds. Smell that freedom, eh?
I smell it.
I'm still talking to the dogs.
Download the My Lawn app today for lawn care tips and customized plans.
Feed the lawn. Feed it.
I didn't do this for the fame. I did it to pay it forward to the next generation of athletes. I joined SoFi because they've helped millions of members bank, borrow, and invest for their ambitions. SoFi, get your money right.
Louis! Cut! More mud! Action!
Louis! Louis!
Cut! Mud on her face!
Louis!
Okay, everybody, that's lunch.
Mud mask?
No.
Compare hotels in the Hotels.com app. Time is luxury. Who you spend it with, what you spend it doing. Why we spend so much time designing and refining, creating the control and the feel that defines electric performance. To make the time you spend behind the wheel of a Polestar the best time of your day.
Just to brush the flies away.
Book a test drive at Polestar.com.
You deserve.
Back at Stone Stadium, Columbia, South Carolina, just moments away from getting this Sun Belt Soccer Showdown underway. We've got snow cones out and about, and we are ready to roll on this Friday night. Well, we take a look at the lineups for this one, starting with the visitors from Huntington, West Virginia. And among those who get the starting start tonight is Loiksani Kong, a true freshman from Quebec, Canada. This is his fourth start of the season as a first-year player, and one that head coach Chase Grossi told us is a very, very good player who makes lineup decisions like this tough. But it's been an ongoing trend for Marshall to have new faces in different places, match in and match out. And once again, the trend continues. The 7th match of the season for Marshall, the 7th different lineup card for the Thundering Herd. Meanwhile, for South Carolina, Ted Cargill, you see there in the middle, number 22. He gets the start for the Gamecocks tonight. His second straight start, and he turned in full time against East Tennessee State on Sunday. The Boston College transfer has recorded a pair of assists this season and is looking for his 4th career goal and first as a Gamecock here tonight. South Carolina and Marshall meeting on the pitch to open up conference play. These two teams met in the regular season finale a season ago on Halloween night. It was a Marshall 2-0 winner last year that clinched for them the Sun Belt regular season title and the number 1 seed in the conference tournament that they would go on to win as well. Marshall moving left to right here in this first half. They're donning the road black and emerald green kits. Meanwhile, the Gamecocks in the home whites with garnet numerals. St. Just pokes ahead for Cargill following the takeaway. Ethan Ballack trying to create space. Junior St. Just crosses in off the fingertips, but a bit too far in front for Gabe Nickerson to collect it in. And goal tonight for Marshall, Alexa Janjic, a junior from Serbia. His 4th start of the season. Both he and Dan Rose have split time between the pipes for the Thundering Herd, each starting 3 matches coming into this one. With the Gamecocks trying to put the offensive pressure on early. Alejandro Velasquez Lopez takes the first corner of the match for South Carolina. Left side of the 6, cleared away by Okiyoshi. Junior St. Just back for the true freshman keeper in goal for South Carolina, Philippe Vestager. St. Just, a player who's logged a ton of minutes for South Carolina these last 3 seasons. Still no whistle. We've seen a couple trips early on, but still no fouls either way. But in St. Just's case, he's one that brings some experience back the back line, also adds in some a piece in the offensive build as part of a wing-back style in Tony Annan's system. He's back tonight, was red carded 2 matches ago against USC Upstate, and of course had to sit out Sunday's 2-0 win for the Gamecocks over East Tennessee State. I.E. Pinto, right sideline, Jonah Bagar pressures ahead, tries to flip the field, out of play, and it'll stay with Marshall. So far, an early physical contest. One thing to keep in mind in this one, the Gamecocks, one of just a few teams in the country, in fact, one of 21 teams nationally with 2 red cards this year. On the other side for Marshall, a player who has not started this one early on, but one we fully expect to factor in. He has been a starter 3 of their last 4 coming in tonight. It's Alexander Vukovic. He has 3 yellow cards on the year rather. Top 25 in the country in that category. So 2 teams that typically play a physical style, and early on our officials letting them play it out. Taimu Okiyoshi looking to connect. William Nielsen, the takeaway. William Nielsen with space, but shot not on target. Nearly an early mistake for Marshall. The Gamecocks just were unable to capitalize on. First shot of the season for Nielsen. And it was 1v1 with he and Janjic in goal. Sliding stop by Goldsworthy, who's still not to his feet. That's one of the Gamecocks' premier defenders. Possession put back out of play. You see Goldsworthy, the Indiana transfer, was Sunbelt Defensive Player of the Week last week. He's one that the Gamecocks certainly count on this evening. Throw in from Goldsworthy, far side. Gamecocks through the first 5 minutes dominating the possession. Cargill serves in. Past Nielsen. And the offside flag goes up in the air and back the other way. Well, these two teams, they are Sunbelt foes. They were previously Conference USA foes, both coming over, joining the Sunbelt in the same season prior to 2022. But even though they've met nearly every year, Marshall has controlled this conference battle each of the last 7 seasons. The last time the Gamecocks took down the Thundering Herd, 2016. Ahead to Sonny Kong. From the wing for the true freshman. Tries to work his way inside, takes a shot, but a slow roller right to the feet and into the hands of Philippe Vestaire, Gamecocks keeper from Denmark. He's one certainly that coaching staff has their eyes on tonight for South Carolina. A keeper for them the last 2 matches. South Carolina has gone down a man in the 75th and 85th minute each of their last 2 matches, and he was still managed to keep a clean sheet while playing down a man for more than 3/4 of the last 2 matches. Tony Annan said he felt like Philippe Vestaire got robbed of Sunbelt Defensive Player of the Week for his efforts. This past Sunday, made 5 saves against East Tennessee State to seal his 2nd shutout of the season. Throw in far side for South Carolina, as Marshall looks to build their first true attack of the night. Velasquez Lopez the takeaway around the center slip, robbed right back by Marshall. Now it was Ryan Holmes, a hometown kid from West Virginia, grew up about 15 miles from Marshall, making their early play. He's one that Coach Grassi said has really played well early on this season. Thundering Herd coming in 4-1-1 on the year. William Nilsson over from Myring, trying to go back and forth. Boy, William Nilsson heavily involved early on in this one, trying to force Marshall mistakes. Now Jonah Bagar intercepts. Velasquez Lopez not able to sneak it past. The Thundering Herd storm back the other way. Whistle against Ted Cargill as he got wrapped up with Rodriguez dos Santos. As physical as this one's been, just the first foul of the night. Ahead for Pinto, up the right side. Sonny Kong into the wing. Sliding out of play. That's Jonah Bagar once again, the sophomore defender and South Carolina native. Marshall approaching the final third. Okiyoshi from the middle. Back near side for Pinto. And off of the Thundering Herd, back the other way. One of the best in the business. Head coach Chris Grossi in his 8th season at the helm. Nearing 100 wins at Marshall. He's approaching close to 200 in his career when you factor in the work he did at Charleston, West Virginia at the Division II level. 2020 national champion. And He's one that is trying to get Marshall back into that national stage. He felt like last year's group really had what it took, but ultimately just fell short in the round of 16, a loss to eventual national runner-up Stanford. And so far this year, Marshall 4-1-1 on the season. That last draw coming in their last match a few short nights ago against St. John's. Oddly enough, Marshall not a team that typically has that draw on their record. First draw in over 2 years for the Thundering Herd. Went 18-3 a season ago. And it's a feeling that you talked to Chris Grossi about it. How do you really come off of a draw like that when you haven't had to do it? And he said, for all the rules and changes that he feels like college soccer's probably gotten right, getting rid of the overtime rule, he didn't really think is one of them. It doesn't feel good just to come away with a draw. Right side moving ahead, Rodriguez dos Santos. Pokes back, front side of the 18. That's Sterngard. Back out of play, but it'll stay with Marshall. Dave Nickerson, a true freshman. An early impact this season for South Carolina. Put away a goal against Clemson. The top-ranked Tigers were in town a few earlier weeks into the season. Sterngard, junior from Denmark, ahead for Pinto. Juice defending, still in play and cleared off by the Gamecocks back line. Nickerson back the other way. Too far in front of Myring, and Janjic comes up from goal. South Carolina off to their best start to date under Tony Annan. The Gamecocks 4-0-2 on the season. Longest unbeaten start to a campaign since 2003 for South Carolina. But Tony Annan said right now you're entering what he feels like is a brand new season with Sunbelt play here. So far, Gamecocks have played some pretty tough opponents, but he says once you hit conference play, it takes on a whole new approach, partly because obviously the Sun Belt is such a strong conference with teams like Marshall and West Virginia and UCF in the top 25, but also just the pressure of the games a bit more. If you drop one in non-conference play, it really doesn't carry as much weight as if you do in conference play because of the point system that the Sun Belt is in with how you determine conference standings. A win gets you 2 points, a draw gets you a single one. So trying to rack up as many points as you can be critical in conference play. Dos Santos near side for Pinto once again. Cargill puts it back off, but it'll stay with a Thundering Herd. Marshall, a team that tries their best to push in from the middle on the attack. Pablo Simon near side. Pinto back for Simon. They'll touch it ahead for Okioshi. Jair Pinto, the sophomore from Portugal, looking to connect with Sonny Khan. Pinto looking for the angle. Bagar misses the intercept. Marshall front side. Pushed far, still a scoring threat. A Thundering Herd team that can strike beyond the 18. Okioshi. Near side for Pinto. Out swinging, headed away by Goldsworthy. Trying to charge him was Sterngard. Now Holmes far side. Does that slip cost Marshall positioning? It cost them that offensive chance with Vistair taking over. A beautiful night for college soccer in the Palmetto State. Sunny skies up above, 79 degrees as well. Got that just enough slight breeze to keep you cool. Under a beautiful sky up above. Packed crowd on hand as well. The Gamecocks, the nation's leaders in attendance each of the last 2 seasons, and that trend carrying over to this year as well. South Carolina bringing in over 4,000 a match to date through their early home slate. Not to mention as well, 2 of those contests being over 6,000 folks. Nickerson, Ballack looking for Myring. The Gamecocks offside. Packed crowd on hand tonight. No doubt about it. It's a crowd that can make noise with all those noise sticks as well. South Carolina, a pair of shots tonight. Marshall with 1 so far through a little over 15 minutes of action. Holmes pass taken away by Nickerson. Back after missing Sunday's match against East Tennessee State. Can't split 2 defenders, and Marshall regains control. Two teams both top 20 in the country in goal differential heading into Sun Belt play, and this is how they'll stack up against conference foes this season based on the preseason poll. The Thundering Herd picked to repeat as conference champs. The Thundering Herd approaching front side of the 18. Okioshi for Holmes. Here's Godard working his way up into the wing. Simone tripped up, still no whistle. We have seen just 2 fouls called in this first half thus far, and the physicality no doubt has been there. Both fouls against the Gamecocks. Our officials letting 2 of the most heavily carded teams in the non-conference slate of the early season battle it out. Gamecocks looking to take down a top 10 team at home for the first time since 2015. They beat 7th-ranked New Mexico nearly a decade ago. Keep your eyes peeled. Served in. Headed away by Goldsworthy initially, but the deflection bounced this way back for Vistair. Now, clock stoppage. What appears to be an injured Gamecock. That was Ted Cargill, shaken up for South Carolina. He's slow to his feet, but he is back to them. Gamecocks dealing with a bit of an injury bug early on this season. They get players like Gabe Nickerson, Gabriel Etienza, and Harrison Myring back tonight, but for South Carolina, they are missing some key figures right now in this match. It starts back a few days ago against East Tennessee State. They lose Sebastian Revelo-Mourier, one of their starting midfielders, in the 4th minute due to a red card. You tack on to that an injury to Mika Hobble, one of the Gamecocks captains, and South Carolina is without some certainly impactful players against the Thundering Herd. Mika Hobble set to miss the remainder of what would have been his sophomore campaign. Gamecocks expect him back sometime in the spring. Was named captain by his teammates, very well respected in and around the locker room. Now on the other end, Junior St. Just not back to his feet for South Carolina. The Gamecocks playing a man down. Referee stoppage in the midfield. St. Just first match back from serving a red card suspension on Sunday. And one that Tony Annan says just brings so much to the pitch defensively. And this season, he's working into the fold offensively. You see there an off-the-ball injury. The training staff will jog on and check with St. Just for. And said without St. Just, Gamecocks certainly lose defensive capabilities. Just seems like he's always in the right place at the right time defensively. Added on his intensity and his transition to defense probably better than anybody on the squad. So certainly an instance that Gamecock coaching staff has to be concerned with. One of their top defenders down along the far side. Well, among the pack crew this evening is some of our nation's finest, the soon-to-be graduates from Fort Jackson here in Columbia. They've gone through and graduated basic training. They'll set to graduate next week and then be sent all over the world. And they've gone through that rigorous 10-week stretch almost of boot camp. So tonight, they decided to treat the cadets to a South Carolina men's soccer match, almost 300 strong of the best men and women to serve our country, and they are out in full force tonight. They lined up at the concession stand when they first got here, everyone getting their soda and popcorn and candy to fill up the bleachers, and certainly that's a group that we are honored to have here in Columbia and can't thank them enough for the dedication that they've given so far and will continue to give. On the opposite side, it's South Carolina women's soccer taking in some action from both the beach towels and the chairs. They've got a big matchup coming up on Sunday when they host a ranked opponent of their own. 20th ranked Kentucky rolls into town Sunday at 2 o'clock Eastern. You can catch that action on SEC Network Plus. Well, a good thing to see is Junior St. Just walking off under his own power for South Carolina. It does appear he will sub off as Ronnie McGrath, true freshman from York, England, will take St. Just's place. And the training staff will accompany St. Just back to the locker rooms. Uncontested drop, the Marshall will control. Okiyoshi back for Janjic in goal. Janjic hadn't played in the last 2 matches. And now Ethan Ballack takes over and takes a shot and scores. South Carolina capitalizes on a Marshall mistake, and Ethan Ballack puts away his 5th score of the season. Typically, when Ethan Ballack takes a look It's right on target. Second in the country in shot accuracy. And he sticks right to mold here tonight. Got the takeaway. Janjic was in front of the 6, far out of goal. And Ethan Ballack just snuck it in with a right-footed strike. The first-year Gamecock who transferred in from Virginia Tech continues to put on a show for South Carolina. He was one that came to the Gamecocks back in January as a career midfielder. But early on, Tony Annan said he and his staff just recognized how he played, how he trained. He was a natural born forward. He was one who was meant to be the guy. And he said in part, and he said this with the anecdote, I mean this in a nice way. And he would probably say the same in a nice way. Ethan Ballack, a selfish player. He's one who wants to score goals. He wants to be the guy at the top of every team's scouting report. And so far, that confidence and the success he's had from so far this season has made that transition to the attack even more special. And now coming back, we'll see a foul whistled against Marshall. It goes against Maneca Rodriguez dos Santos. Gamecocks scoring moments to go. Marshall squad that had surrendered just 4 goals in their first 6 matches of the year. A trio of clean sheets. Coach Grossi's squad. And trailing this season, also not something that Marshall is used to. First time they have trailed in a match since their only loss and only other road contest of the season back on August 29th at Xavier. Thundering Herd looking for an answer. We told you a bit earlier, Marshall not a team afraid to strike from 30, 35 yards out. This time for Rodriguez dos Santos, deflected away by Goldsworthy back into the wing. Rodriguez dos Santos crosses in, cleared away. Pinto, stopped by Bagar, but followed up and put through. Marshall finds the equalizer just minutes later. Maneca Rodriguez dos Santos with the score. The Brazilian senior with his first goal of the season ties this matchup. Pinto crossed it in. And Maneca Rodriguez Santos found the score. Oh, we said that Marshall not a team used to trailing. They didn't trail very long. A total of 2 minutes, and we're right back to where we were, all knotted up. And Ethan Ballack score in the 20th minute. Follow that up. Maneca Rodriguez dos Santos a score moments ago. 21 minutes left in our first half. We're equal at 1. Rodrigo Dos Santos, just his second match of the season. Transfer from Memphis. Former Conference Player of the Year in the American. Was a third-team All-American last year as well. Also an All-Region selection. Sonny Kong, right side of the 18, offside. Ethan Ballack back to his feet, far side. Works to the middle, finds Nielsen. Myring from the wing. He and Ballack now tied for the team lead with 5 scores apiece. Myring has it taken away by Sonny Khan. Clock stoppage for an injured Thundering Herd back in the midfield. That looks to be Thiago Apolinario, sophomore midfielder from Brazil. Transfer from Cali College among the JUCO ranks in Kansas. And Marshall looks to be bringing on a substitution in his place. Apolinario seems to be favoring something in his lower half. Company there to his left. Rodrigo Dos Santos, tonight's goal scorer for Marshall. Just as South Carolina had scored in the 20th minute, Rodrigo Dos Santos followed that up with a look in the 22nd minute. It was initially off of a deflection. Pinto brought it in. And then spinning to the back post around his defender, Jonah Bagar, who thought he had initially stopped the pass and intercepted once again. Rodrigo Dos Santos still found a way. His first goal of the season for Marshall. The 9th different goal scorer for the Thundering Herd. Still coming off of an injury stoppage. As for Marshall to this point, 4-1-1 on the season. Wins over Cal State Fullerton, Loyola Maryland, High Point, and Gardner Webb. A loss to Xavier, a draw with St. John's a few days ago. Alex Bamford in on the mix, a senior from London, England. Has an assist this season. Just the second time all year he's had to come off the bench. That's thanks in part to strong depth that Marshall has. Coach Grossi was talking to us about that pregame, saying how sometimes rotation decisions can be difficult with so many impactful faces. We've got a jersey tug whistled near side. Looks to be on Sonny Kong. Meyring creates space. Harrison Meyring deflected away by Janjic. The keeper comes up huge for the Thundering Herd. Meyring was looking to add to his goal-scoring efforts this season. Would have been his 6th score of the season. He's top 5 in the country, averaging 1 per match. At that time, Alexa Janjic steps up huge. His first save of the night, 6th of the season. South Carolina set-piece chance in hopes of reclaiming their lead. Velasquez Lopez. Back into the middle. Bagar knocked down, no whistle. Camden Kowalski, a fresh sub for South Carolina. And 3rd foul of the night against the Gamecocks. That was Kowalski and Holmes battling. And that leg out certainly will get the whistle back the opposite way. Kowalski, a transfer from Bradley for South Carolina. Just a host of new faces from different places that South Carolina brought in this season. At one point on Sunday against East Tennessee State, 9 of the 11 on the pitch were somewhere else last year. But thus far, you see the long list of schools that South Carolina brought in talent from. Marshall on the other end, Sonny Kong inside the 18. Crosses over, cleared away by Goldsworthy. Sliding stop by one of those key transfers from Indiana. Marshall not done yet. But Vistier races out. Collected in. Goldsworthy, an assist and a shot this year from the back line. Among the transfers that South Carolina brought in, Tony Annan said for Andrew Goldsworthy, he may be the biggest piece that's helped us to this point. It's his 4th season at the helm of the Gamecocks. Previously, a long-time career in professional soccer. Among the most notable, helping lead the Atlanta United Youth Academy. Still to date, he's seeing players that he trained with and worked with in the collegiate game, sees them match in and match out, both on his own team and the opposition. Meyring falls, no whistle. Ballack still puts pressure on, but Janjic is there for Marshall. Gamecocks doing all they can to put Meyring in scoring position. Ryan Holmes comes up big on the back line for the Thundering Herd. Tied at 1 with less than 15 minutes to play in the first half. Pinto near side. Ahead for Sonny Kong. Holmes front side. Sterngard takes a look and it bounces off the crossbar. Boy, Alexander Sterngard, one who has shown throughout the season he's not afraid to strike from distance. He had a look earlier in the year in Marshall's win over Gardner Webb where he shot it from well beyond the 18 and ended up being on the Sports Center top 10 rankings. He put away a goal against St. John's a few days ago from nearly the exact same spot and same distance. Now he'll take the corner. A set piece chance for Marshall. They scored on 2 set pieces last year against the Gamecocks, a free kick and a corner. On their way to a 2-0 win. Since these two teams came over from Conference USA to join the Sun Belt together, Marshall 2-0 in their last 2 meetings, a 3-1 win in 22, and last year's 2-score victory. All time, Marshall holds a 14-5-1 advantage in the series history. Thundering Herd have won the last 7 in a row, dating back to 2016. Pinto over for Sonny Kong. Rodriguez dos Santos put away the equalizer. He'll get back to the midfield for Okiyoshi. A look that sails long for Simon. South Carolina off to one of their best starts in program history, the longest unbeaten start to a season in over 2 decades. 2003 team got to 7 straight to start a year. Then you have to go back beyond that, even further to when at least any of these players were born, sometimes even before coaches were born. The 1985 squad for South Carolina won 13 in a row to start the season. The Gamecocks already 3rd longest in program history. For some reason, I.E. Pinto has turned into the crowd villain. He's the Joker to South Carolina's Batman. A sophomore from Portugal. The Gamecock faithful are letting him hear it. South Carolina asking for a delay. It awfully took Pinto some time to get it in. Once again, every time Pinto touches it, the crowd will boo, it seems. Ryan Holmes, right side. Crosses in, cleared off by Nielsen. And if we have to guess as to why the crowd may not appreciate I.E. Pinto, it may be that move a bit, celebrating their game-tying score. Emotional player. He started all 21 last year, and he started all but 1 so far this season. Only one he didn't play in and didn't start. He was suspended on a red card. He's got 2 goals of his own this year, not to mention that cast on his hand. He injured that hand earlier on in the year against Loyola, Maryland. And right now, it's not a wrist injury. It's not a forearm injury. It is a hand injury. And unfortunately for him, he handles the throw-ins for Marshall. And with the cast, he really can't bend his fingers in. It's more so, just a straight piece on the backside of his hand to keep it straight in line and not allows it to bend. But Coach Crossy told us he hasn't had any problems thus far with it. He's learned to adapt. Boy, seating is limited tonight for South Carolina. Just looking out our window, we've got folks sitting on the press box steps just below, just so they can see some action. There's our friends right in front. Under 10 to play in the first half. South Carolina and Marshall evened up at 1 apiece. Goals in the 20th and 22nd minute. Sonny Kong. Back front side for Pinto. Look sails high for the Thundering Herd. One face back on the sidelines for South Carolina, Junior St. Juste. We told you a bit earlier in the first half how he exited with injury, and you see that large bag of ice on that right leg right around the knee area, and that was the area that he was grabbing on the field when he went down. Certainly an injury to keep an eye on for South Carolina. $8:20 to play before the break. Marshall leading the shot count right now 5-4. The Gamecocks whistled offside for the third time tonight. Pinto once again. Stopped on a slide by Nickerson. Taken back by Rodriguez dos Santos, but the Gamecocks intercept once again. That's Cargill trying to escape the pressure. Still put in play. Marshall with a chance. Okioshi back to the front side of the 18. I.E. Pinto whistle for the foul. And that will certainly please the Gamecock faithful. It's our field official come over to speak with him. Player who won a U19 national title in Portugal. Has 2 goals this season on 5 shots. Put away the scores against Loyola and High Point. Misplay by McGrath. Marshall possession. Ronnie McGrath, a true freshman from York, England, who missed early portions of the season with injury, has clocked a few minutes in each of South Carolina's last 3 matches. He's one that Gamecocks are still working into the mix and building up that stamina. Alejandro Velasquez Lopez left side, put back in the middle by Marshall's back line. But for McGrath, he's gone from 5 minutes against Belmont to 13 to then 38 on Sunday. So far tonight, close to 25 minutes of action. A freshman that Tony Annan says is very technical, very creative, works very hard and really open up a back 4 at any point in time, both on the dribble, and he's also very smart with his passes. Someone that can only add to South Carolina's firepower and the build. Pinto from the flanks. Thundering Herd possession with 5 minutes to play. Can one of these 2 teams separate themselves before half? What's on the line tonight? Well, for Marshall, they're looking to start out conference play with a win. They were the preseason pick to win the Sun Belt in hopes of repeating as conference champions after claiming the title with a win over South Carolina in 2023. And well, for Marshall, they're ranked 10th in the country right now, trying to work their way up in the national polls as well. Second highest ranking in the Sun Belt, behind West Virginia. Meanwhile, for South Carolina, they're looking to open Sun Belt play with a win for the 3rd straight season. Each of the last 2 took down Kentucky last year, Georgia Southern the previous. Not to mention as well, South Carolina trying to find some success against a top 10 ranked team at home. They haven't beaten one here at Stone Stadium in nearly a decade, going back to 2015. McGrath tripped up. Initially wanted to exchange some words, but players will clear themselves away. With 3:40 and counting, another look. McGrath immediately had issue. That's Pablo Simon. Andrew Goldsworthy on the ball for South Carolina as the clock approaches 3 minutes to play in the first half. Ballack falls. A foul against the Thundering Herd once again. 5th foul of the night against Marshall. The official not too pleased with how these two teams are managing time tonight. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw a yellow at some point for delaying the game. .220 and counting in our first half. Still tied up at 1 is Marshall and South Carolina. For Marshall, they're not used to these ties. They had a draw a few days ago against St. John's. The first draw for Marshall in over 2 years. Goldsworthy will go back for Vistair. The Gamecocks 3-on-2. Myring from the wing. In for Ballack, tonight's goal scorer, but just a bit too much weight on that touch as Ballack couldn't control it in. Pinto clears it into the shrubbery. But Ethan Ballack would have had space. Just a bit heavy on it. Ballack put away South Carolina's only goal in the 20th minute. Velasquez Lopez from the corner. 3rd of the night for the Gamecocks. Does a set piece separate South Carolina heading into the second half? Velasquez Lopez, right side, initially missed by Myring on the header attempt. It's put back out. Harrison Myring had the best look at that serve from Velasquez Lopez, but was just a bit too far in front of it. Okioshi got it out of there. Now 2 Gamecocks collide. Nielsen and Goldsworthy. Looked to be they just tripped over one another on that collision, but Goldsworthy didn't appear to be hindered whatsoever. But Nielsen nursing his left shoulder.
Get to the wall.
27 seconds remaining in this first half. Alejandro Velasquez Lopez, the free kick. A true freshman from Knoxville. Takes a look and it sails high. A pair of goals this season for Velasquez Lopez, a player who has been instrumental for South Carolina early on.
9, 8, 7, 6.
Well, a score in the 20th minute gave South Carolina a lot of excitement and the lead. However, Less than 2 minutes later, the Marshall Thundering Herd came storming back with a score from Langer Rodriguez dos Santos to equalize our matchup in the 22nd minute, and that is the score we will take into the break. All knotted up at 1. 10th ranked Marshall in South Carolina in the Sun Belt opener on this Friday night, and second half action is coming your way when we return on ESPN+.
There are secrets buried beneath this place.
Agatha, what is happening? Witchcraft.
The bodies are really piling up.
Feels so good.
Likelihood to win, 2%.
Yeah, you think? Relax, Bob. She's not talking about our match. Those are AI-generated insights about the U.S. Open from IBM Watson X.
So you're saying I still have a chance?
Slim and none. Who's got next?
Good morning, everybody. We are here to discuss the
So what?
So, any questions?
Nope, all clear.
It's hard to explain what this feels like. Moving piles of earth just by moving a lever. Towing up to 4,000 pounds with a machine that weighs less than half that. Cutting grass, clearing the way, and perfecting every inch of your land. We could keep trying to put it into words, but nothing compares to experiencing it for yourself. You just have to get in the seat. Learn more at johndeere.com/getintheseat.
Our store to your door in about an hour. Welcome to your Walmart.
I'm on the next level now. It's so on.
This is Formula One!
What a wonderful atmosphere.
Nos ponemos las pilas, arranca el partido.
Conference play has arrived as Sunbelt Soccer gets underway tonight, and so far we are at the break. The preseason pick to win the conference, the Marshall Thundering Herd, taking on South Carolina tonight, and second half action is coming your way here in moments on ESPN+.
Yo, those are nice. Hold on one second.
Candace, what's up? I think my daughter's going pro at basketball.
She's 3.
Yeah, she's 3. What's your point?
I'll take those.
Wait, you're at Dick's? Could you pick up an agility ladder for my
One
daughter?
second.
Candace.
Yo, Don, what are you doing?
Oh, you're at Dick's. Grab me that newsy and
Hold on.
hoodie.
Candace. Trent.
Can you get me a red tracksuit?
Okay. What else?
Pads, maybe the arm sleeve.
Ace, you gotta see her. Got 2 days
Uh-huh.
going right now.
Thank you.
What you think's the
Thank
next
you.
step?
Yeah.
You
Hey,
want to
Patrick,
also
let me
refer
call
to
you
the
back.
She hung up.
Oh my goodness, this dude. I cannot.
Okay, trainees, let's work on our fast and friendly claim service.
Eyes on the phone now.
Look alive, Drew.
Your repairs have been scheduled.
Nice.
Yes, you'll get a rental car on site.
Heads up. Oh, I'm gonna turn this down to an 8. My bad.
We can do this all day. Geico claim service is 24/7. Nice catch.
Your claim has been approved. Your claim has been approved.
For savings and service, get more with Geico.
You know the most exciting thing about life? It's how you can change it. How you can reinvent yourself. Take on new challenges. So go ahead, reimagine yourself. We did. Introducing the all-new, reimagined Nissan Kicks.
Hey, you seeing this? Wait, where's the dish? There ain't one. You're telling me you can get direct TV, the good stuff, and you don't need a satellite dish? Oh, I used to love doing my business on those things. You're one sick pigeon. Them dishes kept the rain off our beaks. We just have different priorities, is all. Satellite-free direct TV. Never thought I'd see the day. Well, our lifespans are quite short.
Stream DirecTV without a satellite dish.
I'm gonna do this thing with my neck, just for a bit.
BK Royal Crispy Wraps. Eat it with the meal or have it as a snack. Only $2.99. It's a hunger hack and it fits in one hand. And BK, have it your way.
The truth about DIY is you never really do it all by yourself.
Because the setup took 2 videos and a quick demo. You can change your color here. And all of this started here, detoured here, and ended
Down here.
And this pizza wasn't delivery. This was.
I wonder if they do have it.
We do. So whenever you start a project,
Don't worry,
you're not alone.
we can do this together.
So what are you working on?
At Riverbanks, there's a career really for everyone, so it is a very diverse experience. Every position here impacts conservation. For us, it's research, it's education, it's genetic diversity, it's making sure we're supporting wild populations and their habitats. It's all of those things. So all of our projects mean a lot, and if we're making a connection out there and we're having someone do something better for our Earth or to contribute to a project, then we're doing our part.
When I was a kid and was at the zoo, I just would see a keeper and be like, oh, well, that is clearly the best job in the world. The zoo, their role in conservation, I feel like, is bringing people in close to look at wildlife and to learn to value it. The biggest role is about education, but we are able to do conservation projects.
I really enjoy working with the sea turtles. I have done one sea turtle release where I've gotten to actually go and take and transport the sea turtle to their final destination where we release them. That was just a really awesome experience to be able to go out in the water and send a sea turtle off and just know that we were able to help it have a head start in life. I had an internship here at the aquarium through a program that USC does, and that kind of started the ball rolling into working with marine animals, and the rest is history.
It's definitely extremely rewarding to be able to know that my artistic efforts are having an impact. My job is to be the medium between the knowledgeable keepers and curators of the zoo and the guests here. So make signs and things, put things into plain, informal language, take photos of the animals. Growing up, I always wanted to work with animals, but then as I kind of got into the arts and graphics and advertising, that kind of fell out of my interest. And then I saw this opportunity at the zoo, and I was like, well, this is the perfect opportunity to put both of my interests together and do some great work for the community.
I have wanted to work probably in a zoo since I was a little kid. My parents have a really silly drawing that I made of me being a zookeeper. Probably I did it when I was in first grade. One thing I do remember from studying at USC was Joe Quattro's ichthyology class, and I knew I loved fish after that. And so I ended up here, and I've been working with fish ever since. The zoo became part of the Association of Zoos and Aquariums Florida Reef Track Rescue Project, which is what this coral lab is about. We are one of 20 zoos in the United States that is holding these corals that are in peril. So working with that project has been really rewarding, getting to see something tangible. We're working to keep these corals for preservation, for genetic diversity, to make sure there's not localized death and extinction on the reef. We will hopefully one day repopulate those reefs.
What I'm personally excited about is getting our jelly propagation fully up and running. So obviously we've got adult moon jellies right now, but we're working on getting their whole life cycle going. I was able to do an internship at Riverbanks my senior year, final semester, and that really actually opened me to the possibility of being an aquarist. I didn't really consider it the whole time I was at school until I had that internship.
USC has really just helped by really bringing me into the professional world before actually ever stepping into it. USC has just really been such a good foundation because it allowed me to have so many experiences. But I grew up from a really young age absolutely just loving animals, and I never would have seen myself in a position to do events just because it's always growing up, you just see the zookeepers and that's what you think about. But I really just think that the zoo is a place for everybody. You can have your degree ranging in anything from biology to advertising like myself. And I found a home in something that I'm extremely passionate about. And I never would have thought that I'd have been able to combine work and passion, but USC allowed me to do that.
Yo, those are nice. Hold on one second.
Candace, what's up? I think my daughter's going pro at basketball.
She's 3.
Yeah, she's 3. What's your point?
I'll take those.
Wait, you're at Dick's? Could you pick up an agility ladder for my daughter?
One second.
Candace.
Yo, Don, what are you doing?
Oh, you're at Dick's. Grab me that new Z&D
Hold on.
hoodie.
Candace,
Trend.
can you get me a red tracksuit?
Okay.
What else?
Maybe the arm sleeve.
Ace, you gotta see her. Got 2-a-days going right now.
Thank you.
So what you think's the next step?
Yeah.
You
Hey,
want them to
Patrick,
crossover
let me
first
call
or
you back.
She hung up.
Oh my goodness, this dude. I cannot.
Bacon. Good morning, everybody. Nothing like the Jersey Mike's morning prep. The sizzling bacon, the slicing of the tomatoes, the bopping of the fresh lettuce.
Danny, what are you doing up there?
I've been living up here for months.
Got a package from Mr. DeVito?
Oh, my bacon sniffing horn. Oh, smell that bacon. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, now we're talking. Freshly prepped every morning. It's a Jersey Mike's thing, a sub above.
Your yard is your sanctuary, where you should feel free.
I know.
Was talking about the dogs. They need their lawn back fast. And you need Scott's turf builder and rapid grass. It's a revolutionary mix of seed and fertilizer that grows grass 2 times faster than does seed alone. Giving you a stronger lawn. Release the hounds.
Smell that freedom, eh?
I smell it.
I'm still talking to the dogs.
Download the My Lawn app today for lawn care tips and customized plans.
Feed the lawn. Feed it.
Okay, trainees, let's work on our fast and friendly claim service.
Eyes on the phone now.
Look alive, Drew.
Your repairs have been scheduled.
Nice.
Yes, you'll get a rental car on site.
Heads up. Oh, I'm going to turn this down to an 8. My bad.
We can do this all day. Geico claim service is 24/7. Nice catch.
Your claim has been approved. Your claim has been approved.
For savings and service, get more with Geico.
He looks down at his queen and says,
Au revoir, mon amour. I'll be in tow.
let's work on that French, shall we?
Au revoir, mon amour. À bientôt.
Au revoir, bientôt. More, à bientôt.
Au revoir, mon amour. À bientôt.
Now search with AI Assistant in the Hotels.com app.
Jordan outside of soccer is a little bit different than Jordan in soccer. You definitely get a sneak peek into who I am with what I wear. Whatever you feel confident in, go rock it. TJ Maxx. Maxx what makes you, you.
Back at Stone Stadium on Backyard Sports Night. How about that? You remember that game from years ago? Well, someone turned South Carolina men's soccer players into characters from the game. And if you compare the roster photos to what you see, I think they nailed it. It's pretty spot on across the board. They give out some posters to kids entering tonight's game as well. Well, here coming out of half, we are tied up at 1, 10th ranked Marshall and South Carolina. It was the Gamecocks who struck first back in the 20th minute. Ethan Ballot got a takeaway, got some space, and found a score. His 5th goal of the season. The Virginia Tech transfer now tied for the team lead for South Carolina. But that lead would be short-lived, as 2 moments later, Lineker Rodriguez dos Santos was able to spin his way into his first goal of the season. Just wrapped it completely around and snuck in the far left post. Rodriguez dos Santos, the senior from Brazil, gets his first goal at Marshall after transferring in from Memphis. Early on in this first half, though, aside from those 2 scores, it was a pretty balanced first half, especially when you dive into the numbers. Both teams in the first half with 5 shots in total. Marshall with 1 more on goal than the Gamecocks, 3-2. And also, although it was a physical first half, no cards issued across the board, and just a combination of 9 fouls in total. Marshall with 6 to the Gamecocks 3. South Carolina, they've accomplished what I'm sure they set out to do from last year's meeting. Marshall beat South Carolina last year 2-0, both goals coming on set pieces. Tonight, the Gamecocks have limited to that, just one corner for the Thundering Herd in the first half. It's the opening of Sun Belt play tonight, one of the top conferences in collegiate soccer, and that is reflective in the national rankings, in which Marshall sits 10th, and the Gamecocks received votes this past week. South Carolina trying to climb their way into the top 25 for the first time since 2015, with the Gamecocks receiving votes this week. When you count down the votes, of course, you only rank the top 30. The Gamecocks, based on votes received, would be, or rather top 25, the Gamecocks would sit 30th based on the votes they received. But trying to sneak their way into the top 25. But Tony Yannon says the focus still the same. Start out conference play on a strong note. We've had a great non-conference slate, he said, for South Carolina, but he felt like his squad really needed to recenter their focus heading into Sun Belt play, as conference play brings about a whole new pressure to it. Competition of the conference as well. Almost just feels like a whole new season gets underway tonight. Gamecocks trying to pressure first. They'll have a throw in far side in front of the Bowling family scoreboard. Only one other Sun Belt men's soccer game in action tonight. That's Georgia Southern visiting Kentucky up in the Bluegrass State in Lexington. That match getting a bit of a later start than we had here. Still scoreless in the first half in the 38th minute. Throw into the front side of the 18. Velasquez Lopez, no one on the receiving end. Kowalski tries racing it down. And a foul will send it back the other way. Bryce Griffith getting his first minutes of the match as well. Someone who started on Sunday against East Tennessee State and logged 45 minutes. And Bryce Griffith, someone who we've seen as a consistent second half starter for South Carolina, and that factors in greatly, especially when you consider the new substitution rules factored into college men's soccer this year, in that there's no re-entry in the second half anymore. Sometimes coaches will tell you they have guys who are really, really good starters for you and they can get the ball rolling and get things in motion. And other players who mix in better once the game has opened up a bit. It'll be a handball against the Gamecocks. It's the Marshall Thundering Herd. The reserves tonight have been starters throughout the season. This is a squad that, of course, she put 11 on the pitch at once, but they've had 20 and 21 players that have clocked some serious. Pinto back to the middle. Rokiyoshi near side. That's Godar. Taps ahead for Sonny Kong, but cleared off by Ballack. Myring won't be Janjic there. And back to the offensive half for Marshall and their goal scorer, Rodriguez dos Santos. Sonny Kong couldn't chest it down. He'll collect it near the flag. Near side for Godar. Sterngard passes far side for Pinto. Takes a look, deflected away, popped up from Simone. And it'll be
offside against the Thundering Herd. A Marshall Thundering Herd squad coming in 4-1-1 on the season, went 18-3 last year. Even though they did not win the national championship, lost in the round of 16, they still have the #1 RPI at the end of the season. And heading into this year, Coach Grassi said he changed the approach a bit to how he thought, how do we motivate the team this year? How do we focus on that championship mindset? And one thing that he looked at was each of the last 4 national champions in college soccer. None of them started out undefeated. Each of them suffered an early season loss. Marshall, they sustained a loss in their second match of the year against Xavier. He said he drew a lot of comparisons to that. He said, hey, let's take this hit early and learn from it, grow from it to build us better heading into conference play. We knew what we had to fix. We knew what that pain of losing felt like. Let's get it out of the way and focus ahead. And while they have just 1 loss on the season in the record column, they lost some key pieces from last year, including Matthew Bell, the sophomore sensation, who came on and was drafted ultimately in the first round of the latest MLS Super Draft. 16th overall pick. Marshall back the other way. Sonny Kong, left side of the 18. Kowalski slides to stop the cross. And goal kick on the way for South Carolina. Gamecocks made just 1 substitution in the first half, and that was due to injury. Junior St. Just, who went down right around the 20th minute with what appeared to be a right knee issue, did not return. He came back later on in the first half to the team bench area with ice wrapped around his knee. And so far, we don't see him on the pitch to start the second half. Pinto ahead, Rodrigo dos Santos. Simone nearly had it swiped away. Marshall recovers. Rodrigo dos Santos, a stretch high and away from the brace. Second match of the season, nearly his second goal of the night for Lineker Rodrigo dos Santos. Would have had that top half of goal as Vistaire dove down for it, expecting the low line strike.
Hey, follow.
Sterngard from the corner. Out for Godar, back Sterngard. Serves in, headed out by Kowalski. Janjic, the second-year Thundering Herd in goal tonight. Originally started out his career at Wingate University in North Carolina. Was a first-team all-region selection there in 2022. Came on last year, a 6-3-1 record in goal. 4 clean sheets. So far this year, his 4th start of the season as he is Dan Rose, a split time between the pipes. Marshall creates space. Right side, Rodrigo dos Santos. Cleared off once again by Nielsen. Sterngard serves far. Working on Jonah Bagar. Crosses in, nearly a look, but put back out of play. Another corner kick for Marshall. They had just one in the first half, and we had said that South Carolina was aiming to limit the chances that Marshall got on set pieces. Sterngard once again a restart. And swinging. Punched up by Vistera. Look from Sonny Kong. Not on target. A deflection will give Marshall another corner piece. See, deflected away by McGrath. Sterngard, a junior from Denmark. Line drive backside. Sonny Khan stopped by Vistera. What a big play from the freshman keeper. Three straight corners now for Marshall. As Vistera was exactly where he needed to be. On the look from Sonny Kong, a talented freshman who already has a pair of scores this season. Third look from the corner. Punched out by Vistera once more. Followed up an attempt from Pinto. But it'll be a goal kick for South Carolina. Now back the other way. Boy, Philippe Vistera was one that we certainly had our eye on coming in. A true freshman keeper who, for the last two matches, had played down to 10 men and posted back-to-back clean sheets against USC Upstate and East Tennessee State. And with all due respect to each of those two programs, you're taking on a Marshall squad that is among college soccer's best here tonight. And as for how we thought Vistera may fare, that was something that was on the mind of the coaching staff as well, and something that they knew Philippe Vistera would be tested more now in conference play than he had more as recent weeks. But winning is a habit, they said, and a habit that South Carolina wants to try and stay in, still undefeated to start the year at 4-0-2. And Vistera, with how technically and both confident he's been with his feet, he said it's been a weapon for the Gamecocks. That was the words of South Carolina head man Tony Annan. Marshall 9 shots in this one tonight. The Gamecocks with 6. Coach Grossi in his 8th season at the helm of the Thundering Herd. He really didn't have to do a big, powerful pregame speech to the team ahead of this one. He said throughout their trip, they flew down to Charlotte from Huntington. They flew down to Charlotte, where they're actually staying just across the state line in Rock Hill, South Carolina, about an hour and a half north of Columbia, much further than they would like to stay. But Coach Grossi said looking around a South Carolina home college football game tomorrow made hotel prices through the roof and not within budget. Left side, that's going to be Simone. Serves in, headed off by Kowalski. The follow-up from Sterngard, and he scores. Marshall in front, 2-1. Alexander Sterngard scores in back-to-back matches for the Thundering Herd. A player who is not afraid to strike beyond the 18 does it once more. The junior from Denmark gives Marshall their first lead of the night in the 57th minute. Gamecocks one shot in this second half. But by and large, the restart's been controlled by Marshall. Astaire had a heck of a start to the second half. Saw 3 set-piece chances for the Thundering Herd before finally Sterngard broke through. If deja vu would have it, not to say history repeats itself, but you go back to last year's match between these two teams, and Alexander Sterngard had the game-winning goal against the Gamecocks a year ago. Does he do the same tonight? Or do the Gamecocks rally back and tie this one up? Points on the line now that we're in conference play. A win earns you 2 points. A draw earns you 1. And certainly as we approach those final few matches of the regular season and the conference tournament, seeding is getting set. And you say to yourself, which 2 teams are not going to be in the conference tournament? Those points will certainly add up and matter. Ethan Ballack knocks down Sonny Kong at the midfield stripe. Off the foot, and now a throw in from McGrath. Gamecocks aiming to move quickly. Velasquez Lopez right side. McGrath right of the 18. In for Myring. Tried that spinning shot that Rodriguez dos Santos for Marshall scored on in the first half. It was the same exact look. In fact, I believe if we could, we would. But if you were to overlay that look from Myring and the score from Rodriguez dos Santos in the first half, they would be almost identical on the shot attempts. Throw in for Marshall, far side. And a foul back the other way against the Thundering Herd. Gamecocks in the final third, looking to push it ahead from the back line. Cargill. Myring doing his best to stay on side. Ethan Ballack with space. Velasquez Lopez with even more green grass far side. Works his way to the front of the 18. Takes a look. It's deflected. That was Okiyoshi standing in the path. An All-American a season ago, an all-region selection for Marshall. From the back line. McGrath knocks down the Thundering Herd. Now Sonny Kong comes in and pushes away McGrath. Don't be surprised if we don't see a card here. And a yellow in the books against Sonny Kong and Ronnie McGrath. Honestly surprised that Loic Sonny Kong might not be up for an initial red, depending on the official. Came in with a direct push. I guess you could say with McGrath standing over. Loic Sonny Kong just clearing space for his teammate. The official electing just to pull the yellow out of his pocket. Certainly emotions and tensions running high. Velasquez Lopez up for Myring. Janjic out of goal. Myring will bounce it behind. A near chance for the Gamecocks. And now Alexa Janjic slow to his feet for Marshall. Take another look. Harrison Myring was just able to sneak in and around, but the ball just a bounce in front as he couldn't bring it back in. Janjic looks to stay in this one for the Thundering Herd. His fourth start of the season. Marshall does have, among the 4 keepers on their roster, 2 that have split time in goal this season, the other being Dan Rose, who made 5 saves the other night against St. John's. "28 minutes left tonight. South Carolina brings on a fresh face, and Alfie Hughes, sophomore from Middlesbrough, England, transfer in from Boston College. He'll take the place of Gabe Nickerson, who heads off. Hughes, a player, started 13 matches a year ago for Eagles in the ACC. Took 22 shots in total. Still yet to take one with South Carolina. Godard near side. Simone ahead for Sonny Kong, who's whistled offside. Sonny Kong, a true freshman from Quebec, Canada. Coach Grossi calling him a very, very good player. Our pre-match conversation. You just expect Sonny Kong to fall in line with a long list of Marshall freshmen who have stepped up and played very meaningful minutes and been impactful throughout Coach Grossi's 8-year tenure. Alfie Hughes from the wing. He's got Velasquez Lopez inside the box. Alfie Hughes makes his move, but loses the possession. Goal kick on the way from Marshall. South Carolina trying to extend their unbeaten start to 7 matches, but they are in uncharted waters right now. The first time this season that the Gamecocks have trailed in a match all year. Foul whistled against the Thundering Herd, back the other way. Another look. Alfie Hughes, the one that was tripped up by Rodriguez Dos Santos, put away his second score of the season earlier tonight. 15 combined fouls between these two Sun Belt foes. McGrath races back defensively over for Vestager. Just over 23 minutes left tonight. Can Marshall hold on and open up conference play with a victory? Or does South Carolina rally back and find a draw in hopes of salvaging a point to open up conference play? Sonny Kong onside. Left side of the 18, crosses in. Spinning around Rodrigo Dos Santos. But McGrath clears it off. Marshall in front, thanks to a 57th minute goal from Alexander Sterngarten. Offside against the Thundering Herd, and that brings on a substitution for both teams. For Marshall, it's Marco Silva who steps on. A pair of goals this season and top 5 in the conference and shots on goal. Meanwhile, for South Carolina, it's Jack Burgess in as Harrison Myring, one of the team's co-leading goal scorers, steps off. I mentioned Martin Shaya steps on as well. He put away a goal against East Tennessee State back on Sunday. In fact, he scored on both shots he's taken this year. Ryan McGrath will be the second Gamecock to have his night finished. Sonny Kong and Goldsworthy collide, and it's a foul against Marshall. Another look as Coach Grossi talking with the sideline official, trying to negotiate, but free kick will go to the Gamecocks. Pagar right side, trying to find the fresh man into the match, and Burgess. And the Gamecocks will get a set piece chance. Burgess, good positioning there. Velasquez Lopez will jog over as we approach 20 minutes remaining. Is this where the Gamecocks bring themselves back into it and tie up with the 10th ranked team in the land? Pat crowd on hand making noise. Velasquez Lopez. Far side headed off by Marshall. Alfie Hughes collects it in, tries to salvage the offensive chance. It's Ryan Holmes who pokes it away. Godar near side. We connect with Panholzer, who's been mixed in from the wing all night, and he'll work his way to the middle. Tariq Panholzer, a German senior, front side of the 18. Foul goes against the Gamecocks as Rodrigo Dos Santos took the hit. Looked to be Bagar who knocked him down. Now a free kick for Marshall. Certainly not out of the realm from this distance. The Thundering Herd could strike and double up their lead. Sterngard, who scored moments ago, stands over, as does Godar. It'll be Sterngard to take the look, but it'll sail high. Certainly was trying to double up on a brace tonight. But with 18:30 left to play, it'll be a South Carolina goal kick. As we told you a little bit earlier, South Carolina 4-0-2 on the year. One of 21 unbeaten teams left in Division I soccer. Tonight, they trail for the first time this season. Panholzer creates space, but he's surrounded by South Carolina defenders. Tipped away and back for South Carolina. Conference play opens up tonight. The Thundering Herd will take one final step out in their next matchup against Virginia Commonwealth before they return to take on a new look Old Dominion squad with a brand new face at the helm of the Monarchs program, and then a James Madison group that has really impressed early on this season. They've worked themselves into the top 25 rankings. And to mention that road contest with UCF, a #1 team last year who just slipped out of the rankings this past week. Our friends from Fort Jackson filling up the stands tonight. Nearly 300 strong, set to graduate from 10-week boot camp next week and then figure out what the next step in their military journeys are all across the country and world. Nielsen works around. Oshizawa regains control for Marshall and finds Panholzer in the wing. Panholzer crosses over, stopped by Goldsworthy. Now back in Sonny Kong. Too much weight, not on target. 16 minutes to play on this Friday night. Marshall looking to hold strong to a 2-1 advantage over South Carolina. Martin Shia in the offensive half. He's got Alpha Hughes far side, headed up by Holmes, though. And Pinto will take it back to the midfield. Now to the back line. Marshall in the field, Panholzer left side. He'll look for the angle to cross. Defended by Kowalski. Panholzer deflected away, and a corner kick on the way for Marshall. Gamecocks still have Junior St. Just on the sidelines, who went down back in the 20th minute. No ice on his knee anymore, but still not back into the match as he exited with injury early on. One of the Gamecocks' key defensive figures. Pinto far side. can split two defenders and swap corners for Marshall. After having just one corner in the first half, Marshall has tacked on 6 since. Over the head of Sonny Cobb. Certainly shows you how Marshall has shifted the time of possession and possession of the field in this second half. Since the restart, they have certainly controlled it from the very beginning since the two teams came back from the locker rooms. Right now, game-winning goal coming back in the 57th minute from Alexander Sterngard. You just saw there 5 of Marshall's 12 shots have been on target, forcing 3 saves from South Carolina's Philippe Vestaire. Panholzer onside, left of the 18, taken away by Jonah Bagar. A huge defensive play by the South Carolina sophomore. Now Martin Shia tries to track it down. Shia falls, no whistle. The match slowing down here for a moment as we climb under a dozen to go. Ethan Ballack, who put away South Carolina's only score back in the 20th minute, has space. Ethan Ballack looking for the equalizer. Shot blocked away by Marshall. Now an injured Thundering Herd inside the 6. And at the injury break, the Thundering Herd will bring on a substitute. It's Takahiro Fujita, sophomore defenseman. He checks on as Sonny Kong steps aside. Meanwhile, Grant Mateer, along with Gabriel Atienza, is back in. Atienza, one that had been a mainstay starter for South Carolina before he missed the East Tennessee State matchup with injury, but was listed day-to-day coming in. Atienza is ready to go. Meanwhile, for Grant Mateer, saw 6 minutes against East Tennessee State on Sunday. Velasquez Lopez, front side of the 6, no one there, and cleared off by Marshall. Another corner kick for South Carolina. They'll get their set piece chances here in the final few minutes of this match. Under 11 to play. They'll keep it short and move quickly. Ethan Ballack serves far side, no one there. It was Goldsworthy trying to set up backside of the 6. Now clock stoppage for a Marshall substitute. That's Alexander Vukovic, Serbian senior defender. Transfer from UC Riverside. A former All-Big West performer. His third school in his collegiate career. Started out at LSU Eunice among the junior college ranks back in 2021. we'll go back to the restart as referees reset things after the Marshall substitute who stepped off. And Tio Godar hadn't come off the pitch just yet. Time running thin for South Carolina, but the crowd still here in full support, hoping to see a South Carolina rally. Ballack backside for Shia. But it looks like Fujita nearly beat him there. Shia recovers, crosses in, popped up. He was trying to find Alfie Hughes, who was streaking up the middle of the 18. Far side throw in for South Carolina as the clock rolls under 10 minutes to play. South Carolina no stranger to late goals. They had a few last season in Sun Belt play. Put away a score against Old Dominion in the final 10 seconds. They'll need to, last season, they'll need to score here in the final 10 minutes against Marshall this year. Velasquez Lopez looking in for Nielsen. Popped up, but a close call. You see the look for Nielsen dropping down, knowing how close that was. His second shot of the night. Just got a fingertip on it, was Janjit. Velasquez Lopez serves inside. Goldsworthy's header. Too much. Seventh corner of the match for South Carolina. Now both teams knotted up 12 shots apiece. This match has been as even as you could get across the board. Even in shots, even in corners, even in offside penalties, even in saves. The only differentials across the board, Marshall has one additional shot on goal and one additional foul. That's the only separator tonight. And for South Carolina, well, first Velasquez Lopez set to throw it in, and the Marshall sideline not too pleased with how he stood over the top. A member of the Thundering Herd. Now back on the other end. Things getting testy a bit. Clock stoppage. And referee walking over for Penholzer, and he'll now go in the book. But as we were saying, for South Carolina, not able to come away in this one with a win, with how you stacked up against the preseason pick to win the conference and one of the nation's best, you have to be overall pleased heading into the rest of Sun Belt play. But still plenty of time for the South Carolina team. But first, Marshall as well still has plenty of time to build on their lead, and the team certainly capable of doing so. Kowalski throw in, got away with the slide. Final 8 minutes. Let's get ready to rumble, perhaps. Velasquez Lopez over back into the wing. But this is certainly what high-end college soccer looks like. Two teams battling it out to the very end. Everyone on the sideline up on their feet. As Marshall will make one of their final substitutions of the night. Joao Roberto, sophomore forward from Brazil, steps on. It's averaged about 18 minutes a match throughout the season as I.E. Pinto heads off for Marshall. Throw in for the Gamecocks with under 7 minutes to play. Out of play, Roberto attempting the save. Goldsworthy back in. We'll do it once more, just take 5 steps forward. Off the side of Mateer, no one on the other end. Foul will go down, and Ethan Ballack gets a yellow card of his own on the slide. As he took down Rodriguez dos Santos. Gamecocks aiming to open conference play by earning a point for the 3rd straight season. Marshall, meanwhile, looking to take the first step in their road to a repeat as conference champion. Silva loses the touch, and the Gamecocks have it right back. Under 6 to play now at Stone Stadium. Now Nilsson with a pair of shots tonight finds Velasquez Lopez in the circle. South Carolina facing their first deficit in 2024. Looking to avoid their first loss of the season in the first conference match of the year. Velasquez Lopez looking for Ballack. Janjic will collect it in for Marshall. Ethan Ballack put away South Carolina's lone goal back in the 20th minute, his 5th score of the season. And since Marshall tacked one on, send us into the break tied up. And then Alexander Sterngard found success from beyond the 18. Four minutes to play in South Carolina. Ballack up the right side, popped up by Okiyoshi. The Gamecocks still with a chance. 3:30 to go. Alfie Hughes serves right side. Ballack charges from the middle. Marshall in front by a goal since the 58th minute. South Carolina trying to tie it back up before the night expires. Now 3 minutes to play. A pair of injured Marshall players, one of which Ryan Holmes is down on the right side there. And it looked to be a Gamecock push that put Holmes down. Watch number 3 here for South Carolina, Gabriel Atienza. Clearly a shove. And the referee, surprised, didn't put Atienza in the book. Even also, Alexander Sterngard was just helped up. But it's Holmes right now who's dealing with the injury. Atienza, the transfer from Oral Roberts, who missed Sunday's match against East Tennessee State. Back tonight from injury. But a golden opportunity right now if you're South Carolina. You're getting a chance to essentially form a huddle before you go back out and play. Not a chance you often get with less than 3 minutes to play in a match. But South Carolina able to put in one final game plan and one final strategy in hopes of evening this match up at 2 apiece and earning a point to open up conference play. But they'll have to go through one of the country's best in Marshall to do it. Thundering Herd ranked 10th in the country. Entered this one 4-1-1 on the year. The only loss coming back almost a full month ago, August the 29th at Xavier. Ryan Holmes will jog off. Then it appears immediately re-enter for Marshall with 2:57 to play. And actually a change there. Ryan Holmes' night is done. He'll check aside as Apolinario returns to action for the first time in the second half. Goal kick from Janjic. 2:45 to play. Throw in for Marshall, far side. Goldsworthy pops it up. Roberto did not get away with the handball. Everyone for South Carolina sprinting now with 2:10 to play. What type of a 2-minute drill can South Carolina piece together? Can they find a hole in Marshall's otherwise elite defense here tonight? Headed out by Apolinario. Throw in for South Carolina. Ballack will immediately get it in with 1:30 to play. Shia falls. Mateer gets wrapped up. And a foul whistle with 1:22 to go. Clock will stop now at 1:19. Another look. No doubt that Vukovic had held up Shia. Surprised that wasn't a card. $1:19 to play. A 1-score deficit for South Carolina. Set piece chance for South Carolina. The true freshman, Alejandro Velasquez Lopez, stands over. In the final moments of the Sun Belt opener, can South Carolina find the equalizer? Al swinging. Janjic out of goal. It's loose, popped up, and out of play. South Carolina trying to appeal their case for a foul. They don't get one. So we take another look at who ultimately got it in the air. That was Kowalski, I believe, who took that shot. Instead, they'll give it for Jonah Bagar. Clock will stop with 52 seconds as we await the goal kick from Janjic. Marshall less than a minute away from sealing the deal on a 1-score win. .40 seconds to play. Throw in South Carolina. Kowalski moving quickly. Goldsworthy pops up. Janjic out a goal will leap and nab it. That may be the last look South Carolina gets. And that will do it. The Marshall Thundering Herd will open up Sunbelt play with a win. 2-1 your final over South Carolina. And Alexander Sterngard had the game-winning goal last year against the Gamecocks. He has the same this season with a score in the 58th minute. And Coach Grossi and company earned their 8th straight win over the Gamecocks. South Carolina's unbeaten start stopped